So before we get into the story, deep into it, I want to give you a rundown so you have an idea of what we're dealing with. This client meets this guy, and the guy looks well off. Nice vehicle, easy going in personality. So they end up planning to meet, planning to go out. And they actually do. So this client has a great conversation, great night, but when it comes time to pay the bill, this guy doesn't even offer. So she has to pay the bill herself. I mean, that's for a beginning stage of a date. I mean, you'd think after that, that should be the end. Well, no, that's not what happened. So she continues seeing this guy. So anyhow, she eventually goes to his crib, and he lives in a fucking penthouse. Let's just say, yeah, he's a millionaire. I mean, $100, you couldn't pay $100 because that's what the dinner came out to. Some of you guys are like $100 fucking date. You couldn't pay a fucking $100. I mean, this guy appears to be level-headed, and let's just say she's into him. So apparently things appear to be smooth. Well, let's just say after she ended up getting pregnant, that's when things started to get out of hand, because this guy started showing little signs of insecurity. I don't really get someone that comes in a situation where they're calm, they're relaxed, and she runs the situation down to me. And this situation is revolving around a guy that's playing the field, you know, dipping here and there. And so she asked for a binding spell. So I inform this lady that if I do this binding spell for you, there can be no infidelity on both parts. So if the man you're with decides to cheat, he will have complications and problems. That's just the nature of the beast. So she agrees to the terms. She can't step out, nor can he. I know some people probably viewing this video and you're probably saying to yourself, how will he know? Well, that's the thing. You're already in a relationship. You shouldn't be out there doing foolishness. So that's my reasoning for that. But unknowingly, let's just say pain has a way of sending a message to the brain. Time goes on. I do what I need to do. You know, she sends me her information. I get what I need. I ship what I need to ship out via the post office. I go about my daily routines, not thinking about much. Life is going great. I'm hearing things with different clients. So, you know, I'm just like, yeah, I'm living my best life. And then one day I get a call, maybe weeks later. She tells me that, you know, guy starts coming around more. He starts spending time around this woman. Now, the thing she tells me is that he's becoming extremely jealous. And I don't think nothing about it, you know. She's telling me that he's coming around more. He's, you know, being more attentive, you know, because before he would run out, he wasn't around much, and now he's becoming a little closer. So I'm thinking everything's all good. And then I go about my business. Normal routine, you know. All right, I'm talking to another client, I'm talking to, this client here, and I'm good. I'm thinking everything is great, gravy. Another job moving smoothly. And then I end up receiving a call from this lady a couple of weeks down the line. She tells me that this guy actually hit her. I'm like, what? And I say to myself, what the fuck is going on here? And it's not dawning on me to really ask her more questions. So she tells me that this guy hit her, and my thought is, well, this guy is about to catch some fucking hell. Because you hit this woman, and that's not something that you're supposed to do. Because when you bind someone together, especially the way I do it, you're putting angelic spirits above the relationship. And if you're doing things that are not right, they're going to punish you. So anyhow, we speak about it, and as conversation goes on, she begins to reveal things to me that this guy actually has a history of domestic violence with her. So I'm like, in my mind, how come you didn't tell me that this guy was abusive and you had a history of abuse with this guy already? So, I mean, what am I gonna do? But this is why it's important to let a spiritualist know what the situation is before you start getting work done. Because again, I know some people that are viewing this probably gonna say, oh, how come you didn't do a reading? Well, sometimes things will come up, but most of the time, if a person books a consultation with me to speak with me, I usually leave a description about what the consultation is, so you can tell me from the door what the situation is. And if you have all the details, you can explain it to me. Well, this person spoke to me, they didn't really explain. I'm not too sure if they booked the consultation or they just caught me off guard, because it's been so long. So I would say that I wasn't informed, and again, even if you do readings, some things may not appear. But now, in hindsight, I wish I probably did. Because that way, I would have seen this. Because sometimes there's certain things that stand out strong to the point where you'll definitely pick it up. And that's one of those things that I believe that if I would have done a reading, I probably definitely would have picked up. But again, with the consultation versus the leçon, consultation is if you know what the situation is, bring it to me and explain everything to me, and I will diagnose it from there and tell you what needs to be done. In that situation, it didn't happen. So this is what we're in at that moment. So she tells me these things, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should turn up a bit. Come to find out, this guy ends up getting arrested for something completely different. Something that has nothing to do with anything. So, okay, in the time period he's in lockup, if I'm correct, I believe, she wanted to switch up on him, to torment him while he was locked up. So we speak about doing an intrinsic spirit on him because she wanted to up the ante. Again, at the moment, I'm not thinking about everything. I'm just like, okay, this is what she wants. We'll turn up the fire. So this guy gets locked up. He's already in there. And the plan was to do the intrinsic spirit on the guy while he was locked up. So I don't hear from this client, and I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. I'm waiting for her to reach out to me. I'm not gonna rush or run after anybody. I told her what the deal was. So months later, I get a text message and this client says to me, man, I gotta speak to you. Crazy shit has happened, you know, for the time period we weren't speaking, you know, and she explains to me that this guy cracked her skull. What? Hold the fuck up. Hold the fuck up. What do you mean? What do you mean cracked your skull? Here goes another can of worms. So, what happens here? This female tells me that after she spoke to me, the guy ended up coming home. And I guess they gave him probation. And he was living in a house where this guy was so fucking controlling, out of this world, jealousy. She couldn't even go to the fucking gym without this guy becoming obsessively angry and crazy. This guy would beat her just for going to the gym. Just for going to the gym, he would beat her. It would be arguments. And, you know, it's like, it would be arguments, well, arguments on top of arguments. If she was with her friends or she had male friends. And to be honest, she told me that this guy saw that she was viewing my content, you know, on social media, and I would respond back to her content. And he said, who's this guy here? This guy would monitor her social media account, what she posts, who likes whatever on her account, whatever. Listen, if her male friends would like anything or follow her, whatever, he would get irate and beat her. So it's to the point where, man, I'm hearing all this like, what the fuck? This is what's been going on. So this guy became so obsessed with this female and so controlling. No, I don't want you speaking that. No males, I don't want you going to the gym. I don't want you working out. I mean, seriously, what type of guy does some shit like that that's in his right frame of mind? No, seriously. Don't you want the woman you're dealing with to take care of herself, to look nice? I mean, for every simple reason, listen, there isn't any reason. For any little thing that she would do, this guy would beat her. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the stuff that she was telling me. I'm like, wow, this what was going on? See, when you bind someone together, or when you bind people together, you want to make sure who you're binded to is level-headed. Because the thing is, it's going to keep you guys around. This guy was drifting off before. Now he's around her all the time. He's micromanaging everything she does. See, this is why it becomes very important when you're doing binding rituals to know who you're binding yourself to. Because you can bind yourself to a motherfucking psychopathic maniac. When she tells me this, I'm like in shock, like, wow, this is what happened? Wow, OMG, unbelievable. You know, such a beautiful woman to experience such craziness like that. So she tells me a lot of this was occurring recently. This is information I received like a couple of days ago. So I'm finding out that when I received this message from her, where I spoke to her, she told me a couple of nights ago, he beat her. And days prior, he caused her to break her ribs and fracture different parts of her body. Now, I'm going to explain to you what happened. So they're at this family event, I believe, or they're at some event, and the baby father, this guy is on the phone talking to one of his uncles, and he's talking about, oh man, yeah, she give me problems, and she's telling me, the client is telling me, she's hearing the uncle saying, man, if that bitch don't listen to you, you need to whoop her motherfucker. He's saying all types of, giving him authorization to beat the chick. Now, if bullshit and savagery doesn't run in the family, I don't know what does, right? This is some very evil Resident Evil 7 type shit. This is like a psychotic family. Listen. She hears this, and she talks to the baby father and says, you're on the phone and you're talking to him about beating me? So she's like, I'm done. I've had enough. So this vehicle, this is an SUV. You know how SUVs have like a step before you climb in. Well, let's just say she's getting her, the baby stroller out the car and everything. She puts her foot on the ledge to step into the vehicle. And while she's getting things out, this guy's already in the car. They finish having an argument. I don't know the details of how he got into the car, but let's just say he was in the car. Somehow he got into the car. And she's on a ledge, and this guy pulls off. Now, she's standing on a ledge. All her support is on the ledge. She pulls off. From what the client explains to me is that she flipped. So you can imagine a vehicle, she's standing on a step, the ledge to get inside the vehicle on an SUV. This guy pulls off, so you can just imagine her foot, losing its balance. So she says she flipped, fell, cracked her skull, and fractured her ribs, hairline fractured her ribs. I believe also she dislocated her shoulder. So this occurs, she goes to the doctor. This guy comes around, tries to check on her, but that's it. They tell her that either you press charges or they're gonna take, the children from her, So she does what she has to do. Come to find out, the car that the vehicle that she got into that tragedy with, weeks later, this guy ended up totaling the vehicle. The truck flipped over, fucked this guy up. This shit is, the craziness that you just heard, it makes me question the response. Was it justifiable to what this woman experienced? But time goes on. So she files the motion for her restraining order to be put against the baby father, and she presses charges. So this guy is already in a very critical state, health-wise. He has a pacemaker. He has always had a pacemaker since he was a child. In the midst of us doing work, this guy finds out the pacemaker is malfunctioning. That's one situation. And not only that, this guy would go through episodes where he'd be screaming in pain. This woman would take him to the hospital, and the doctors wouldn't know what was wrong with him. This client explained to me that her baby father was fucking transsexuals. Not just regular transsexuals, but prostitutes. This is high risk behavior. Who knows what he was doing? And the $1 million that he had, he blew it all. He lost his penthouse. He lost the vehicle. When he had sex with the transsexuals, he would be under attack. The doctors wouldn't even know what was wrong with him. I know that sounds crazy. You know, eventually they recommended surgery. They removed his gallbladder. Later down the line, the pain persists. He has these episodes where he's screaming, oh my God, I'm in pain. I don't know why. And let's just say that the doctors one day, they call him and tell him that he has cirrhosis of the liver. So this is the things that were transpiring between the client and her baby father. This is the epitome of filth. This is an example of one of the worst, obscene motherfuckers on the planet Earth. I don't recommend any woman get involved with someone like this. So, what do we have? This guy, he has a pacemaker that's malfunctioning. He has cirrhosis of the liver. They had to remove his gallbladder. He totaled his expensive truck. He lost his penthouse. So we can pretty much say this guy is on his way back to jail because he was on probation. And now that his baby mother has pressed charges against him and has a restraining order against him, we can pretty much say that this guy is finished. As far as this situation is concerned, what can we learn from it? If you are going to bind yourself to someone, you have to do all your cross-checking. You have to really invest time into this person to know, well, maybe this person is worth it, because you do not want to bind yourself to a psychopath. Because when you bind yourself to people like this, yeah, they will be around you, but you raise the chances of someone hurting you or possibly